Hi, Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby.
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Welcome back to Iron Flame.
This is like our snow episode. We
Yes.
got 2 feet of snow today.
Yeah, it's been very snowy here in Colorado after being like 60 degrees. So big change, but
Very
that's
big
okay.
change. Roads are horrible.
Yeah, but we made it. We're
made
here.
it. Here we are. Cheers.
Cheers. So what are we drinking, Shelby?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've said this before. We'll say it lots of times again. We need to be sponsored by ice.
We're obsessed with these. I'm
The
pretty sure this is
sparkling
like the
ices.
5th episode we've talked about these sparkling ices. But today it's nice because if you're watching the video, the colors of our drinks are kind of like supposed to be the colors of the Iron Flame cover.
Look how cute.
Yeah. So,
Oh, it's so shiny too. I can see it in the window.
so one of ours is red and one of ours is like an orangish yellow in
love
case
it.
you can't see it. But yeah, we got some sparkling ices tonight. It's our go-to.
Heck yeah, I love it. Super refreshing, delicious. Ice, sponsor us.
Yes. So they're pretty good. Oh, but yeah, we're continuing
it.
with Iron Flame tonight.
Heck
But we also just want to let everybody know that up next is, I think, a highly requested episode.
Yes, we've actually had a few comments who are like, can you guys do this episode next?
Yes.
Are you guys covering it?
Yes.
What are we doing?
So next after Iron Flame, we're going to be doing a House of Flame and Shadow. We're finally going to be closing out the SJM reviews. So look out for that one coming. That'll be in a couple weeks after we finish up Iron Flame, but we're very excited for it.
Very excited.
Yes.
Huge release, as this one was.
Yes.
Yes. So we are doing part 2 of Iron Flame, which is very exciting. But because we're doing part 2, we already have part 1 out. We have 2 episodes on part 1, and there'll be spoilers for the entire book. So if you haven't read it yet, this is not the episode for you. Go back and listen to part 1 and come back.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Very
and
exciting.
Just as a reminder, if you're enjoying our episodes, please like or give us a rating or follow. It helps us a lot. So we appreciate your support.
Speaking of likes and ratings and follow.
Yeah.
What are we doing coming up?
Yeah. Well, we've hit some really fun milestones lately.
Yes, we have.
And as a celebration, we are going to be doing a giveaway of one of the first edition prints of Iron Flame that have the sprayed edges. So we're really excited to be doing that. It's going to be open on Instagram and TikTok, and there's a couple ways that you can enter. So you have to be following us on one of them, whichever one you're entering on, and you can enter on both if you want to be entered twice. You get 1 entry for a like, 1 entry per comment, 2 if you shared your Insta story, and then 5 if you rate us on Apple Podcast. And if you listen to us on Spotify, please give us a rating too, but we can't keep track there. So unfortunately, no entries for that. But feel free to use any or all of those, and we'll compile them all together and see who's going to win a special edition sprayed edge cover of Iron Flame.
And kind of like we talked about with the first one, there was a huge controversy with when this came out. And so I know people didn't get their books, and it's really unfortunate. And so, they're not making the first prints anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and luckily this one, the edition that we have is one of the rare ones apparently that was perfect. It doesn't have any of the weird print errors. It actually is a perfect unread copy. So yeah. Feel free to enter. We're excited to share it.
We're so excited. And thank you so much for being here with us on the journey. It has just been an absolute blast. And yeah, we've met so many awesome book friends, and we're just so excited. So we want to give back to you.
Yeah.
Yay! Now, since it is March, we are also doing a version of March Madness.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys do the March Madness brackets, but Miss Willow's Book Club podcast is going to be hosting a book boyfriend bracket on our Instagram and TikTok. So watch for that coming. Vote for your favorite book boyfriends. We're going to be dribbling it out over the next few weeks to line up with March Madness. But we're really excited to see if, for me at least, we're reading Iron Flame, if Xaden ends up on the top there or not.
That would
I don't
be
know.
so awesome.
He's definitely going to be close, but there's going to be a lot of good ones. So please participate if you'd like to.
It's going to be an absolute blast. And
Yeah.
we just realized you can do polls on TikTok. So
Yeah, we're going to be doing some of those too.
we'll do polls on both Instagram and TikTok to see
Yeah, see what
who's
people
winning.
think.
So
Also,
excited.
on that note, let's talk about Iron Flame.
Let's talk about Iron Flame.
Again, spoilers.
Lots of spoilers for the entire book.
Yes. Oh, man.
Oh, gosh.
Well, okay. Let's just talk generally. So we
Like,
covered
where are
part
we?
1, which is literally part 1 of
Yeah.
this book, right?
Like the first half.
Yeah, part 1 is all just in Basquiat, right? It's just Violet coming back as a second year, kind of going through the same stuff, but reflecting on herself of like seeing now all these first years and how everybody treated her the year before. And now all of a sudden she's turned into one of the, heartless second years, right? And so the end of part 1, we've now left Basquiat, right? We have escaped the interrogation room, and now she's kind of off into the rest of the world, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And so now they're heading back to Aretia, and they've got a bunch of people from Basquiat with them.
Yes. So they're bringing the whole horde. I don't think it's a horde. I don't remember what they call it.
I don't remember.
The horde of dragons, but
I think it is a horde of dragons.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because okay, this is a total side note, but my favorite of, how there's like a name for like a grouping of each animals, a gaggle of geese is my favorite.
Oh my gosh,
one.
I love it. That's so cute.
That's just my favorite. Anyway, so a horde of dragons, they're bringing them with all the riders and the dragons, because they take some of the dragons from the Vale too, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I think some of the unbodied dragons I thought came too. But anyways, they're bringing them all to Aretia, and they meet up with the Flyers and basically add in to create like a new school in Aretia in Xaden's house. So that's kind of where we're like picking up going into part 2.
So right now, like, it was so crazy. So I was listening to it again the second time and listening to just the second half of it. And I thought it was crazy, like how much uproar there was bringing the students from Basquiat to Aretia.
They were so mad.
Which,
I mean, I kind of get, because it's people to take care of that they don't think are going to be able to do anything valuable, right? And there is a certain amount of, like, they don't even really talk about this part of it. Like, you have to feed all those people too. Like, are there farmlands in Aretia? Like, how are they taking care of all these people? I don't know.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like there's so much
no
logistics.
idea.
There's so much logistics behind just like showing up with these hundreds of people. So that part of it was like a little, I don't want to say plot holy, but a little bit for me.
For real. Because they like tripled in size, was it?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more, and it's a bunch of kids,
Yeah, exactly. Growing kids.
Yeah. So yes, that part was interesting.
That part was really interesting.
No worries.
Yeah, it's funny because I literally didn't even think about how they had to like feed everybody or house everybody, or
well, they kind of talked about housing a little bit, because they're saying, kids are doubling up on rooms, and it's kind of an abandoned town, so I have to imagine there are some houses and stuff. But that's why I was like,
wait a second.
The other parts of the logistics I didn't totally follow, but magic. So
exactly, it's like they can just create their own.
I guess. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So now we're at Aretia, and now everybody's up in arms because now people know about the Venin and the wyvern, and the professors at Basquiat had to go take care of the wyvern that were dumped by Xaden.
Nice.
And now they're trying to figure out like how they're gonna live life, basically.
Yeah. What are they gonna do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really crazy. Also, just to see like the reinforcement of the bonding of the squads that they already had at Basquiat too, because even after they shifted over to this, and are basically creating their new school there, they're like so set in the structure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like unless so many people have died that they don't have enough to fill it, they like really do keep the exact same team the whole time, which I thought was kind of cool.
And I liked that they integrated that. I also really liked so when Mira comes in and she's like, we heard that you guys were all here, and then she punches Brennan in the face.
Yeah, that was good.
How dare you? I can't believe that you've been alive for so long and didn't tell anybody.
yeah, that was pretty satisfying. And I liked Violet's reaction in that scene too, because they've always known Violet as being kind of, like the quieter, meek one between them, and she really is like has kind of a hard I don't know.
Yeah,
she stands up for herself in front of him. Yeah. So I thought that was cool to see her be a more dominant force in front of them, and not just like back into taking a back seat, because that's what she does with her family,
Exactly. Yeah, I liked it too. I like to see that shift in her too, because as we kind of talked about in the first one, she's so much more confidence in this book. I thought it was so precious.
It was. Oh my God, speaking of confidence.
Oh gosh.
Can we talk about Kat?
Oh my my God. Okay, so a little background on who Kat is, since we didn't talk about her at all in the first half.
Yeah.
She is Xaden's ex-girlfriend.
Ex-fiance.
Oh, yep, ex-fiance.
It was an arranged marriage.
How do we find that out, though? From when they
is it when she shows? It's not until she shows up at wherever she's trying to pick up the luminary, right? I don't remember the name of that town. Isn't that where she finds out?
Yes. So they remember her and Mira and Brennan like go there without Xaden knowing. Yeah. And then Xaden was there already. Because the Gale found out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That is how that went down.
Yeah, and so she shows up and Xaden's like, you're going to need a lot more that you're going to be upset about.
Yeah, God, the whole interactions with Kat were so funny, though.
Gosh,
especially her just like amplifying Violet's emotions.
Because she heightens everybody else's.
Yeah. And so seeing Violet just get like so jealous and so like,
I know. And at first I thought she was like initiating these emotions. And so I was like even more pissed. But then when Xaden is like, oh no, you were clearly feeling it. Yeah. Because she only heightens what you're already showing. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Yes. But I love actually while they're in, what is that place called where they get the luminary from? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it's called. But while they're in that town.
Wherever they are.
Where there's the castle-y thing. Wherever the luminary is. But while they're there, I love after Kat's been like messing with Violet a little bit and Violet's like, why am I going so crazy? What is going on?
Yeah.
And he like wraps her up in like a little darkness, a little shadow hug.
Oh my God, I love that.
Has that little moment like before dinner and everybody else is like, yeah, okay, you guys can sit down now.
I know.
But he like, breaks the hold basically that Kat has, like shields a Violet from Kat's involvement. And all of a sudden Violet's like, wait a second, I feel fine again.
I know. She's like, how did that happen so fast? Which brings, so can he do that, do you think, for a lot of different things? Like if people are trying to use their signets or magical powers in the Flyers case on somebody, can he just shield them out?
With his shadows, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he must be able to for some of the mental stuff. I'm not sure. Well, actually, but he can block stuff, physical stuff with his shadows too. So he must be able to block a lot with them.
That's interesting. And I haven't thought about it until you just said it.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought deeper than that either until right now.
And now I'm like, that's a really good way to use his power.
Okay, speaking of his powers though, on his second signet, let me see where exactly they were saying it. At first, I thought that maybe it was a second signet for Violet, but on our favorite My House, My Chair, My Woman, let's just take a moment to appreciate that. But before that, when he is having a moment with her and she like sees into his mind or whatever, sees what he's feeling. At first I had read that as thinking it was a second signet for Violet, but I think that must still just be a part of Xaden's that that's the only time that we ever see him push his intentions out versus reading other people's intentions in.
I wondered though if that was just part of their bond.
You think?
So part of me did kind of think that because
like through the bond through the dragons.
Yeah, because they always like have a sense of like where they are with each other, and like I was wondering if like because he always says like shield me out. Yeah, and so I was wondering if he just like broke down that barrier and was just like showing her everything, like letting her in.
Way more sense than anything.
I was trying to figure that out too.
I was trying to figure out how that happened because he says, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that" or something like that, right? And I'm like, okay, so clearly you did that, but I couldn't tell if it was that. Yeah, he was pushing something out. That makes more sense though, where he probably always has at least a little bit of a block, and he was just like not shielding anything in that moment. That makes way more sense. Sorry, thanks.
No, that's what I was thinking, but. Now I'm cushioning it because I'm like, I wonder if that is part of his like,
I don't know,
powers to like he can push out his intentions as well as
And the only reason I say that is because I had questioned that with Dane in the last. If you remember when we were talking about part 1, I had questioned like that Dane could read memories, but then I was wondering
Yes.
if he could plant memories, and that's what Nolan was having to heal. That's why what Varys was telling him to push, right? And so that's what got me rolling. Then I was like, oh, I wonder if Xaden can do the same thing. It's like he can pull in other people's intentions or push his out.
Exactly. And that's why I was kind of like rolling with the train thought is because it's like, is I don't know, was he pushing it out? I don't know.
But I at least think I've checked that off, that I don't think that's at all related to Violet's signet.
Yeah. Which, did the second half make you any more clear on what her signet could freaking be?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about that now.
We could wait to talk about that.
It doesn't matter.
Because we could go back to Kat.
Yeah. Let's go back to Kat.
Yeah. So we meet Catriona, and she is, it is, oh my God. I literally just had the name of this place. It was
Oops.
Oh no, you're totally fine. Corden.
Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered that.
No, me neither. So, she is the king of Corden's daughter, and they basically had like some political contract with Xaden that he would marry her, and they'd be married for power. And so Catriona is clearly very jealous and still wants Xaden so bad.
Oh yeah, she's pissed that he broke off the engagement.
Oh yeah, very, very pissed.
But he broke off the engagement before Violet, to be fair. So it wasn't because of Violet.
Right. And I feel like that was a really good distinction for him to make, because he was like, it wasn't about you. I did this on my own, and then I wanted you. And so I thought that was really good. But her mind abilities, that's scary.
Yeah. I know. Well, all the flyers, it's interesting that they have like, it's so similar, but like just a little bit different, right? Since they're better at like the basic magics or whatever, and like the mind magic stuff, but don't have a signet per se.
Right. It's like different. It's interesting. Well, and then the fact that the riders didn't know that the flyers even had these mind powers.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot that the riders and the flyers don't really understand about each other, besides the flyers, or the riders know that the flyers can't do high altitude stuff, right? Like they're aware of that. And I think that they were aware that griffins die with their riders, or flyers, the same way that like dragons and riders have that. That's I'm gonna mess up that rider flyer.
I know, same here. Well, it was like the opposite, right? Because if a dragon dies, the rider dies.
Yep.
But in the other sense, if the flyer dies, the griffin dies.
Oh, I had written down as the griffins die with their riders too. That's what I had written in my notes.
Yeah. So
I thought it was both ways. Like the griffin dies, the flyer dies, the flyer dies, the griffin dies.
Right. But
you're saying sometimes the dragons survive.
Right. Because if a rider dies, the dragon doesn't necessarily die. And that's how they can bond to multiple people. But it's not the same. If for the griffins, it's like all or nothing. Like if their flyer dies, they will die, type of thing. And so I thought that was interesting how like the bonds were a little bit different. Yeah. But they were similar in the sense of like they can hear each other's thoughts and stuff. And so I liked that.
Yeah. But even how they bond, like by jumping off the cliff, it was so funny. It was kind of like when we were talking in part 1, the difference between infantry and the riders. Yeah. It's again, you see some of the different dynamics and how they taught the flyers versus the riders, because the riders are like, yeah, we're just literally going to do all these things that you're going to kill yourself if you don't do it right while you're training. And the flyers are like, excuse me, I don't know about that. Like, yeah, you don't get one, you just fall into the water, you swim back up, you come up next year. Like, what are you talking about? You guys are crazy.
I thought that interaction was so funny. And Violet's like, yeah, and then you die, right? And she's like, no. She's like, what are they doing to you over at the college?
Yeah. They're bonding as the flyers and the riders are walking up the switchbacks on the cliff. Yeah. I thought that was like a really cool scene. So you get like a little bit of the intensity of like, you know, there's danger and stuff and surprises that come up in that, but also just the bonding of them talking to each other. I really enjoyed seeing that dynamic and seeing some of them obviously more comfortably fall into like we're allies kind of spot. But
I liked that. I didn't realize, well, I guess I should say I forgot how intense the second half was.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to it in the car and I was just like,
White knuckle.
yeah, I was like, oh my God, there's so much happening right now. And there was so much action in the second half. And this scene specifically where they're going up the mountain and they had to get across that like jump. There was like a 6 feet like break or something.
Well, it was because they there was like a trap or something that hadn't been set yet and they didn't know where it was going to be. They just knew it was somewhere in a range. Yeah, that part was intense too. And then when somebody actually falls, I was like,
I know. And the wyvern eats them.
The first time that I read that, man, I was so shocked.
Yeah.
That was really good. That was a really good scene.
Even the second time, like I knew it was coming and I was like,
it was still intense.
I was just like, white knuckling my steering wheel. I was like, oh my God. It was so intense. And then that kind of sets up like Violet's interaction with everybody for the rest of the book because the flyers are like, you saved your rider and you let the flyer die. And so sad.
Oh, it makes me so mad too because since you're in Violet's head, you know how hard she was pushing herself to try and save them both.
I know. Oh my gosh. Oh, let's talk about what else happened when they were in Corden. So they basically have to get the luminary, right? And so the king is like, oh yes, like if you can do this task for me and I can see your lightning wielded, then you can have the luminary.
No, he doesn't say you can have. He says you can. We'll have discussions.
We'll have discussions. Oh, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, because you're right. He doesn't say you can have it. So what does he do? He brings her down to this like stadium. I pictured like a football field in the middle of like Rome.
Yeah, kind of. Like I was picturing like rock and sand, but think like gladiator fighting pit.
That's exactly what
I was picturing. Yeah.
And so he brings a fucking Venin.
Yeah.
And he's like, there you go.
Well, and then it's funny because not funny, haha, but funny that
weird
that he just sends, his 2 guys down there or whatever to let out the Venin. And obviously the Venin immediately kills them.
Yes.
Just sacrificing 2 of your own guys for the show.
Exactly. Well, and then what we learn about Corden, about how like Violet makes this note about how everything looks like it's been bleached of color. And I completely forgot about it when I was reading it this time about why it was bleached with color. And it was because the magic had either already been gone. It had already been like destroyed. And so they couldn't take from the land anymore.
Yeah. So he had the king or whoever, the guy that was in charge, had sourced the rocks that were around the edge of the pit from the edge of the barren that the Venin had been in. And so they had already sucked all of the magic out of it. And that's why the Venin was contained to just within the pit.
Which like,
I didn't totally get.
Yeah. Let's think about those motivations for a second. Like, why did he feel that this might be necessary? That he's going to need this like viewing area for the Venin? I thought that was a little odd.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true because like the rocks had to have been there a long time ago.
Exactly. So like, do they just do this? Like,
well, yeah, I don't know because they've had Venin in like closer to them for longer, right?
Yeah.
Where they're located is closer to the barren, and so I'm sure that they see more of that. So maybe there's just a little bit more of, hey, let's be prepared. But you're right, that was an entertainment space that it was built out as. So that is interesting to think about. I hadn't even considered why they might have more things set up for that.
It was a little too convenient, I guess.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that.
Yeah. Odd. I loved Violet and Brennan and Mira working together. I thought that was so spectacular. Again, Violet is just like standing up for herself and being this like badass that she is. But also we find out that Mira can ward when she's not in the wards.
Yeah.
Which was really exciting.
Yeah. Well, and the notes that Mira had got, or that, or in one of the chapter headers about Mira was just saying, because I went back to look and see, because I was trying to compare it to our previous theory that maybe Violet is, like kind of a boost or something. But I realized that when they talk about her, they say that she doesn't have the consistent ability to produce her own words without extreme emotional distress.
Oh,
so she must have done it before too, just not very often. But also I read that and I was like, wow, that's exactly like what Varish and everybody were putting Violet through, is extreme emotional distress.
Exactly.
Like, that's kind of sad that that's what they were doing to Mira to try and make her like picturing what she was probably going through in school.
Exactly. It was so sad.
But yeah, it was cute watching them all work together.
I know, I love
and
watching
then
them work together.
Zayden choking the guy out.
I was like,
that was satisfying. Having Violet walk off of that field, that was so satisfying.
Yep. That was so, oh my gosh, that was so satisfying. And I loved the dynamic between them when they did walk up and he was like choking him out. And she's like, Zayden, no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And Kat is like freaking the fuck out. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
But then, right, because then, so she shows him her lightning, right? And he goes, I said we would have discussions. I didn't say you could have it. And so then they come to an agreement that, like, they have to bring all the flyers with them.
Right.
To Basgiath. Which
from Cliffbane. That was their school, right?
I don't remember, actually, but that sounds right.
I think it was Cliffbane. Yeah.
That sounds correct.
So now we're bringing a second school to Aretia, which was not prepared even for the first school.
Exactly.
Yeah, which was just kind of odd to me that he even requested that. I get that it was a dangerous area, but why would you want to send all of, like, basically your little babies that are so important to you off to the enemies? Like,
I know. I was wondering the same thing. I was like, that's an interesting request.
Yeah.
Especially since he knows that, like, it's really hard for them to live at this, like, higher
right?
altitude.
I don't know. I think that's supposed to be a, I guess, measure of how dangerous it was where they were already living.
Yeah, I guess so. But it ends up working out really well in the end to have everybody with them. I liked that, kind of like we were starting to say before, how like the squads really stick together. I really liked that they put the squads like intermixed.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, the leader of the squad can stay the same, but your second is going to be a flyer. And I was like, yes, like give them some power too. Like give them like an even playing field. Because we start to notice that like they have very different advantages to being either a rider or a flyer. And so it kind of leveled out the playing field a little bit, I think.
Yeah, because the flyers are a lot better at the runes. Like pretty much immediately they're a lot better at the runes than the riders are. But the riders have maybe a little bit more power.
Yep, exactly.
And they're better at altitude.
Yep, which I liked.
Yeah, I like that balance too.
I thought it was really fun to listen to.
Yeah. What did you think about the day when they get to call everybody to the mat? It's like the one day that they can do the challenges.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's so good.
I know that was another one. I was like white knuckling my steering wheel because I was like, oh my god, because I remembered that Kat was like,
yep,
you.
Yep. Well, everybody is like basically all the flyers like in the within the squads are like fighting each other. But no, honestly that scene was cool too because it did like feel like Basgiath when they were doing the challenge day there also.
It did.
But I appreciated that the professors are like, you know what, get it out of your system. Yeah. We know you're going to do it at some point. Do it now and then be done.
Exactly. I loved it too. And they said one rule, you can't use your signets and no magic. And what did Kat end up doing?
Cheats.
She fucking cheated. She cheated. Yeah. She used her powers on Violet and made her feel all of this emotion. And what else did she do that day? She had come up to...
Oh my God.
Yeah. She had showed up at Violet and Xaden's door in a skimpy little outfit, like just trying to rile Violet. I was like, what the fuck?
I'd be so mad.
Oh, I'd be
livid.
Pissed.
I'd be so mad.
But I loved that even though Violet was like on the verge of like killing Kat, I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah, that she came back from that. I agree. I agree.
I don't think Violet would have actually been able to live with herself if she would have actually killed Kat.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think she would have actually killed. I mean, I know she said she was getting close, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I do love after that scene when Xaden takes her into the throne room.
Yeah, we touched on that briefly.
Yeah, very briefly. But I loved that. I think that was one of my favorite scenes.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
That was beautiful.
I think maybe not my favorite scene, but like in the top 5 though, is like pretty soon after that when she goes back and she's talking to Kat again. And she says, just that trick you mentioned, the one with your fingers. Thanks.
Could you imagine if I was like trying to rile somebody and then they came back with that? I'd be like, just like
man.
jaw on the floor. Like she did like exactly like she riled her up just like she wanted to.
That was hilarious.
Yes. I loved it.
Yeah, that was super funny. I loved that scene so much.
Oh my god, that scene was so awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I loved in the second half that Violet like was finally able to tell all of her friends like what was going on, and everybody was in the loop, and now they're all able to work together, and Justinia went with them. And so now they're able to like kind of work together on things. And
also her flirting, like Justinia flirting with Sawyer. Is that who it is that she flirts with?
yes.
So cute.
He's
I
trying to
love
learn
that.
sign language.
That was adorable.
That was so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I loved that so much.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but speaking of study buddies,
Yeah.
Dane.
Oh my god.
What
Yeah.
did you think of that? Of the fact that they really spend a lot of time translating together.
They do. And I really liked it because I felt like there was, I still think there's more to Dane to learn about.
I agree.
But I really liked that you start to get kind of that redemption arc a little bit more, because in the first half, you're like, it's like on the fence. And in this one, it was like he was really trying to help. And then now that he's like, hey, I know this language. I can help you. Like, let's double team this here. And so I like to see that a little bit more.
Yeah, I know. That was so nice. And seeing them work together when they're alone at the ward stones in Aretia too. I like really liked that whole scene of them like kind of hashing it out a little bit.
Yeah. I want to talk about this theory that I saw on TikTok.
Tell me. I
saw that somebody said, what if Dane is the real enemies to lovers and not Xaden?
You know, I said that I wanted to wait to talk about that till this half for that exact reason. I could see it, honestly. Because there is a little bit of, I don't know. They do just like bond more again in this one. And it could just be really great that they come back to being friends. And that's awesome. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on what happens with Xaden, right?
Same.
I don't know. Because they also have, I had written down, and this was part of my foreshadowing, which kind of goes into what you were saying. Sort of more linked to, was it Garrick and, no, not Garrick. What's Warwick and Lyra? Were those the two journals they have, right?
Yes.
And so there was, a quote that said, nothing kills love faster than opposing ideologies. That's like from the journal, from, I think, Warwick's journal maybe. But, and we know that, or I think we can assume that two of the original writers must have had opposing theologies. And I'm assuming that it must be Lyra and Warwick. And I'm just wondering if that was also foreshadowing for Xaden and Violet, because there have been a few moments that they don't always necessarily agree on the approach or anything like that. And I wonder, like, now that Xaden is Venin, I wonder if he's going to start to have any different of a perspective on it. Yeah. And if that's going to kill their love and their relationship. Yep.
I've wondered that too. I don't know what to think about what's to come after learning that Xaden is Venin, because I don't know how that can they're going to, there's going to be so much that's different about them. And you're right. His ideologies are completely going to change. And so I'm like, is Violet going to be okay with this? Like, is Xaden going to be okay in general? Like, right. I don't know.
Because they say there's no cure. There's only control. And I mean, I do think that he has good control. So I think my guess is for the first half of the next book that comes out in this series, Xaden's going to be fairly normal. I think that his inner dialogue is going to be that he's like using a lot of control to not do bad things. Yeah. But I think he's kind of still going to be like in it trying not to do bad stuff. But I don't know. Then I think there's going to be like a big fight scene or something, and he's going to need to like pull power to save them. And then all of a sudden it's going to be like more addictive, and he's going to get even more involved.
Oh, absolutely.
That's my guess.
And I could honestly see that happening too. But if they are going to be so different now, and Dane and Violet are going to be a little bit more similar than they thought. And like, even when they're bonding over the languages and the books, and they apologize and they have this like bonding moment, I kind of started to see like that little flirtation again a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, oh no, like I didn't catch it that strongly the first time that I read it.
You know, I wondered, and that's why I say I couldn't tell if it was just genuinely kind of being friends again or if it was flirtation. Because I know what you're talking about. I got that vibe a little bit too. Because, you know, that was originally what Violet really thought she wanted. And obviously he didn't handle it well year one, like not even just the mind reading part of it, but being controlling and stuff in general. But I think he's genuinely learned and moved on. So
absolutely. And I feel like they both like they said what they needed to say to each other. And I feel like, I don't know, but something that I did realize the second time around. So in the big battle scene at the end, Dane is nowhere to be found.
He's not in he's not in their squad or in their wing.
Right.
Well, no, I mean, he's not, like, when they assign places for people, he's not in there. So it kind of makes sense we don't see him.
Yeah?
Right?
You think so? Because I feel like he would want to be, like when Violet's doing the wards, or Violet is, like, up in the sky, she doesn't mention him at all. We don't hear about him at all.
For some reason, I thought during the scene with Sloane, he was there. But maybe I'm misremembering that.
I didn't think he was. At least like when they're fighting and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe he was in there with Sloane, but.
Yeah, I mean, when they're fighting, again, they assign everybody to those quadrants, and the quadrant was just their squad. So which doesn't include Zane. So I guess that part, I kind of was like, that made sense that I wouldn't see him there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to go back and look and see if he was there when the Sloane thing went down.
And there might not be any importance to it at all.
You just noted that he was missing?
Yeah, I was like, like she didn't look for Dane at all when she was fighting on the dragons.
But I mean, Mira wasn't in there either.
Yeah.
Or Brennan. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think I didn't read into it because there's a lot of people that aren't there.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's talking about kind of that big like battle scene and maybe powers. I guess I'll start with Jack fucking Barlow. Like, I remember this happening, and so I wasn't too excited in the first half when he was there and like being all nice. But I forgot how freaking ruthless he was, that he killed his own dragon. Like, he is so morally far gone, even though he's not like physically far gone as a Venin.
Yeah. Yeah, because they talk about the different levels of him, and he's not showing all the physical things of a higher level one.
Yeah.
But he has some control over his dragons. They talk about it, Bade having cloudy eyes and stuff, and he talks about being like controlling of Bade. And then kills him, and then doesn't die when his dragon dies.
Yeah.
So
that to
that
me
too. So that's, I think, feeds into clearly something with your bond with your dragon changes when you become Venin.
Yeah.
Which is probably also why Scale is being all weird with Xaden, because she's like, you know, not really talking to him and stuff, but we don't really know what's changed, if anything. I don't know.
Exactly. And so, I don't know. I guess that just like raises a bunch of questions for what is going to happen, because if that severs the bond, does it? Because I don't remember when Violet walks up to Xaden, she can't hear him, can she? Like in her mind-to-mind speak?
I think he was blocking her out, was what I thought was happening. Yeah. But I don't know.
Because I wonder if that changes that kind of a bond.
Because it was through the dragons. Yeah.
And if it changes, like, I guess the questions that it raises for me is like, what is going to change with the bonds?
Yeah.
Like, is Sigale going to kind of rot away like we've talked about a little bit? Like,
no, it's a great question. I have absolutely no idea where it's going to go, but I'm really very curious to see what she does with it, to see what happens, because that'll be our first look into like what really happens when you turn Venin.
Yeah. And I feel like right now we just like don't know that much about it.
Yeah. Also the gray handprints. So you're in that same scene you're talking about with with Jack, that when he
that was
actually
Dane.
That is Dane.
Yeah,
you're right. Dane was in that scene.
You're right.
That Jack like grabs Dane and puts like the gray handprints or whatever on them, and They specifically say that Nolan can't mend it, but we're unsure if it's unmendable or if he was just too tired. Like, I feel like that means that's going to be unmendable. And I'm also going to be curious to see what long-term effects that has. Like, is Dane overall going to have less power now? Is that like, that really drain his like ability, or was it just like a temporary thing? Is it a scar? I don't know.
That's so interesting. And he also says that it feels like an icy burn. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like what they thought it was going to feel like. Fucking Jack Barlow, man.
Yeah.
I wish he just never came back.
Asshole.
But he's clearly going to be a big part in the rest of the series, or at least the next book.
Yeah. Well, because I'm going to be curious if Xaden actually learns anything useful from him.
Right. Because up to this point, they've been giving Jack Barlow the serum, and so his urges, I guess maybe I'll call it, like, are subdued a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, his connection to magic is cut off.
Yes. And so, I wonder like how that's gonna affect. Like, is Xaden just gonna have to like keep taking the serum?
Oh yeah, I guess he's probably gonna just be without powers too. Except that they're gonna make him take the serum. I would assume.
I would assume too, but who knows? I feel like, but it's gonna be really important for that to come into play.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
I agree.
For sure.
You know, with Xaden and the Venin thing in general, we've not really talked about all of the dreams yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's been having these dreams, right? Where he's like,
well, both of them, I guess. Mm-hmm. But that leads into, again, I don't know. I had brought it up, I think, in the last one, that I thought maybe Violet's signet could be dream walking, because there's 2 times that she has dreams about like the sage coming, like attacking her, whatever, when she's laying next to Xaden.
Oh, but she doesn't have him when she's alone?
I don't remember. I didn't catch if that happens without, but the 2 that I caught, the 2 dreams that I wrote down, both happened next to Xaden. So that's why I had written that down, that I was like, are they his dreams? Are they her dreams? I don't know. But they both kind of say the same thing, and they both say that they recognize the sage when they go into that fight. They both recognize him from what is it called? Poromia?
Oh, when they were fighting in Resin.
Yeah. So when they both recognize him back from there and from their nightmares. But so I'm like, is the same one, I guess, kind of attacking both? But he has said to both of them, you'll turn for love, which is why I'm like, is this the same dream? Are they having the same dream and she's just dream walking?
Oh, I didn't. That's interesting, because when they originally are like about to fight the wyvern, and she's like, oh, they're coming for me, and Xaden goes, no, they're coming for me.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
there was too much like
overlap.
Kind of flipping back and forth, and some of them felt tailored towards her, some of it did, like there were some comments about her commanding the sky or something, right? But I don't know. It was just that was messy for me. So I'm not sold that that's it.
But it could be another option.
It's another option for sure. And in general, I just want to know, why does the sage or the general want specifically Violet so badly?
Yeah, because they say it so many times.
So many times they say it's you, the one who commands the sky. They're talking about, I will hunt you to the ends of the continent and beyond.
Yeah.
Even when they're fighting then on the campus.
Yep.
God, I can't talk. Sorry. But yeah, like even when they're on there, I don't know, they're like making comments to her about like, oh, you're the one he wants. I'm going to get so much for bringing you to him.
Right.
I'm curious to see what he'll do or what he can do with you or something.
So like, what can he do? And how does magic work when you turn Venin? Because clearly they still have powers of some sort.
Well, yeah, because they're drawing the magic from the ground instead of through their dragons.
So is it still their signet, do you think? Or do you think it changes?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know.
Me neither.
Because do we really see them do a lot of magic, I guess?
Not yet.
Besides like building out Wyvern.
Yeah, and we know that it's
like more some like generic power stuff. Exactly. I feel like they don't do anything that. Oh yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what it's gonna look like. Like, is Xaden gonna lose his powers?
I would think he would lose his signet if his bond with his dragon is lost. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
but maybe they still have like the lesser magics, like the like generic magics that everybody has, maybe. But they also say that they gain like heightened senses when what was it? What did they say? Something about having heightened senses when they turn Venin. I'd written that down because they had talked about one of them having like really good eyesight, farsight or something. So they could like see through a cloud that none of the dragons could or something, you know? So they must gain different abilities. You're right.
So it's definitely going to have to change in some aspect. And going back to that dream, I feel like we learned so much more about the Venin in that scene too, because we start to learn that they're also having more of their, and we might have talked about this in the first part too, they have more of a structure. And so when Xaden says, oh, like, are you the sage? And he goes, I'm the general.
Yep. I got that too. So we'll talk about the four. So there's 4 levels that they talk about at least in here. The initiates, which just have like kind of red rings that come and go depending on how often they drain. And then they have the asims.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea how to say it. That fluctuate in degrees of red, and the veins distend when riled. The sage, which is responsible for the initiates, they have permanently red eyes and permanently distended veins that expand with age. And then the Mavin, which is the general.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think Xaden actually killed the general in that scene?
No, I don't think so.
I think there's no way, like, if that's really like the general, the big guy, they wouldn't kill him off screen. You know what I mean? Like, we have so little information about that. I feel like he ran away and he's going to like come back in later. That's my guess. At least I'm like,
so the general is like at the very top.
That was the top of they listed of the levels they know.
Oh, and we know they have a new form of wyvern too.
Yeah, there's at least
there's 3 of them.
3, yeah.
So in the very beginning, in the first part when we were talking about it, there was the blue fire and the green fire.
Yep.
And then when they were fighting in the very big battle at the end, we hear Violet say, oh, there's a red fire.
Yes, I caught that too. So now there's 3 different colors.
Yes. So I'm like, they're just expanding.
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean?
I know. Well, and we know the wyvern from Lilith. We find out that they must be in some way made with rune stones.
Yes.
Right? That have something on them. She said that that's in the middle of all the wyvern. So that was interesting too, I guess, just to like, I want to know more about how the wyvern are created.
Me too.
And if it's like, if they're all just literally just made out of magic, or if they have to hatch, or like what?
I know. It's interesting because like clearly to be the evil wyvern and to be attached to their, I don't want to call him a rider, but to be attached to their
Venin.
Venin. Because a Venin can be attached to like numerous wyvern.
Right.
And once you kill the Venin, it'll kill off whatever he's attached to.
Yep.
He or she.
Because the magic was coming from them.
Right. And so I'm like, I want to know so much more about how that looks to like create the wyvern and like how else they can be killed and what kind of powers or magic or whatever they hold. And do they have the same bonds that the Venin, with the Venin that the riders do with their dragons? Like, I hope we learn a lot more about this as it comes
Well, and it was
up.
interesting too, because when they were talking about runes in general, when they were teaching the flyers and the riders together, and they say part of why it was banned a couple hundred years after unification, whatever, was because they didn't want the runes to fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Or that power to fall into the wrong hands, which it clearly has.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the Venin have that and are using it, that's already happened.
Do you think the flyers can turn Venin too?
Yes. I think because they have magic that they use and channel through their griffins, I would assume that they can turn Venin the same way if they draw from the ground instead of through their griffins.
Yeah, but we just haven't really heard about it.
No. That's a good question though.
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know that we specifically have an example of one of them turning, but
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, since we have so much to talk about for the second half of the book, we are going to make this 2 parts. And so this is where we're going to wrap it up for the first half and catch us next week for the second half.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Bye.